the YouTube vibe is coming up, so
Really, I haven't finished up my.
no, it's all good. I'm just gonna.
No, I mean my news article. Doing too many things at once. In cyber, and we're live. Okay.
We'll be kicking things off soon. We're just finishing up some checks. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. For some reason, I was listening to Cardi B today. The YouTube vibe is coming up, so Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
I'm good. Enjoying this Wednesday. It's been a whole what? I almost said it's been like a whole 7 days since I've spoken to you, but that's not true. So it seems like we speak almost every day now with everything going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, for
Everything we
sure.
have going on and just.
Yeah. Well, welcome back everyone to another episode of Intrusion Diversity System, or IDS. Big thanks to really to you for joining us, and you're definitely part of the motivation that keeps us going. I'm your host, O'Shea Bowens, or Sir Mudblood.
And I am Sienna Del Vasto, aka C squared. So
Nice. And I don't know, what do we have going on tonight, sis? What's happening? What are we doing with our lives here?
so I know for sure we got a little bit of an announcement to make. And when I say like a little bit, I mean I feel like it's a lot of bit. So we have that to make. A couple news topics. I found something interesting about a ransomware gang, which I really like the fact that maybe not like the fact that they're hitting, but I think it's interesting that we're calling them ransomware gangs now, which I want to talk about a little bit later. And we've got an interview coming up that we did with Davin Jackson, which I am super excited
Mm-hmm.
for. I really enjoyed that a lot. So that's kind of what we got going on for this episode.
Yeah. I think the audience is definitely going to like the interview process.
Mhm.
Of one of the things that I think I harp about is really having not only having more diverse people in cyber, but having them across different areas of cyber. So whether you want to do offense, defense, web app, GRC, even technical writing. Ironically enough, that's an area that I feel like I'm having to focus a lot more on with consultancies with NoHat. And
Mhm.
I have been paying someone, I'm not gonna lie, to kind of help with the writing aspect, the final reports, but I want to take that on myself. So it's an area that I'm focusing a lot more on. There's a
Mhm.
lot of jobs out there for technical writing. We should definitely have a
Yeah.
like an episode just on like the job market in general. Find someone
Yeah.
that truly understands the job market and the numbers behind it,
That's a really
not
good
just what the
idea.
Department of Labor is putting out
Mhm.
there, but really what it takes to get in some of these jobs. But
Mhm. Especially
um
in cyber. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, we are in cyber, but
the cybers.
the cybers, yes. But no, I think that's a great idea. I think we definitely need to put that on our calendar for
Yeah,
sure.
I am making a note of it right now. Actually, see, this is called being proactive, so you don't forget things. Because I think a lot of people have awesome ideas, and they just forget to write it down, and then there is no follow up. And without follow up, it stays in the idea bucket. It doesn't move to actionable. You know what I
Well,
mean?
especially when you're coming up with ideas on the fly like that.
Yeah, true. This is true. This is true.
Mhm.
So let's see. I think first we should talk about some of the collaboration that's going to go down, right? So
Yes.
it is Black History Month. Something that's going on from the IDS perspective is a uh, a mashup collaboration, however you want to categorize
Mhm.
this, with the wonderful ladies that created the Share the Mic and Cyber campaign.
Mhm.
I'm really pumped about this. So if you're unfamiliar with we'll have to drop this in chat too. But if you're unfamiliar with like share the mic and cyber, essentially, this was a campaign started by Camille and Lauren. What is Camille's last name? Is it
Stewart.
Stewart?
Mhm.
Stewart, and then Lauren is Zeidenbike, or that sounds super German.
You're
Uh,
probably better off with that one than I am.
I apologize, Lauren, if I get
We're
this
so
wrong.
bad with names.
It sounds like I definitely got that off, but yeah. So the genesis of Share the Mic was it actually came from of some of the I'll let them explain this a bit later, actually. But but it actually came from a the political realm. There was a
Mhm.
campaign for Share the Mic, which was politicians offering their stage up to
Mhm.
newcomers and different individuals that don't actually have a spotlight, and allowing them acting as their voice essentially. And so what they did is they took that to cyber. So matching individuals up, specifically people of color up with allies and counterparts
Mhm.
that whether it may be Caucasian or maybe from a different race. And it's blown up. I know I participated in June.
Hmm.
I was linked with Philip Hagley. He's one of the instructors for SANS. He's a beast for Differ. Like, he's someone I actually have followed for a very long time. So when I was linked up with him, I was super pumped. It wasn't like I asked for that or anything along those lines. It's just something that
Hmm.
that kind of happened. And what you're seeing is, I think this is the fourth time they've done this. And what you're seeing is
Yeah.
30, 40 people kind of matched up with allies and counterparts, and they share their Twitter feed with individuals, and then in sharing their Twitter feed, they find space to you find space to learn more about that other individual. So for instance, like with myself and Phil, I gave Phil a decent amount of information about my history, kind of how I got into cyber, how I got into like security when I was like 13, or not security, but IT when I was like 13.
Hmm.
And he would amplify that on Twitter. So it allows you to reach like a broad audience. And there's been some, we have a clip of that. I'll play that later, but there's been some really amazing outcomes from it. I'll let them explain that a bit later. But yeah, super, super pumped for that. If you haven't noticed, over probably the last week and a half, we've been super, super active / aggressive on social media, on LinkedIn and Twitter, because what we're doing is we're having 2 panel discussions specifically focused on Black women in cybersecurity that is in collaboration with Share the Mic and Cyber.
Hmm.
And then there's 2 other panel discussions specifically for IDS. And this one's open to all. We're looking to hear more Black voices, male or female, hear your story, learn more about your particular area of focus, maybe any tips and tricks you can give, guidance you can give, really anything that's of value. I think there's a lot going on in people's heads that they maybe don't believe others would want to hear about, or maybe there's that hesitancy to step in front of a broader audience. I know some people have shyness. We work in a field of introverts, so it shouldn't be a surprise when individuals aren't super, super comfortable being in front of a mic and being in front of loads of people. But I really think people are going to enjoy this. I'm super
Hmm.
pumped for some of the guests that have signed up.
Yeah.
Thank you to the guests that have signed up already. You are going to help us pull off something really, really amazing. And we're still looking for guests too. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit us on Twitter.
Hmm.
We're happy to answer any questions you may have. We will continue to post the sign up sheet for this. We definitely want more and more people. We're trying to max it out at about what did we
I
say?
think 10 guests,
10
something
guests per
around there.
session.
Hmm.
Yeah, 10 guests per session. So with 4 different sessions, that's about 40 different guests, 40 different perspectives that
Yeah.
that I'm looking forward to learning from
Very
and hearing
much.
from. So yeah, please sign up if you're out there, if you want to share your time with us. We're gonna be recording on Fridays and Saturdays over the next 2 weeks. So we will be recording at night. So that gives you
Hmm.
some time to maybe sit down, pour a glass of or Bordeaux, or whatever you may whatever you choose to drink,
Pick
and
your poison.
and really just spend some time with us.
Yeah. And, for those
Pick your poison,
who,
because it.
and, like you said, we're in a field full of introverts. And if you do feel shy, I know I'm typically like the same way. But if you do, one of the beautiful things of us doing a panel is the spotlight, you won't feel it on you as much. And we just want to have a great conversation and have a good time and really get to know about you, your perspective, your story, and really share it with us and the rest of our community. So we're really excited for it, as you can tell. And I think O'Shea covered really all of it. So yeah, like,
I'm not shy.
no, not at all. You definitely get me out of my shell. So but yeah, we're super excited for this collaboration. We're super excited for the participants that have signed up and for the future ones that will be signing up. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So yeah, we're excited to see how this goes. And last couple times that they've done this, the Share the Mic in Cyber campaign, it's been a really great turnout. So we're excited that we get to be a part of it with them at this level. So yeah. Um
No, well done, madam. Yeah, so what we'll do, we'll get into some news. Let's see what the heck's going on. There's always something. That's the one thing I love about this field. I was talking to my wife about this. That sounds weird. Like I don't talk to my wife. I'm like, I spoke to her yesterday for 20 minutes. That was
At
her.
the water cooler,
Yeah,
just
like we met up in the kitchen. We linked up in the kitchen, just
in
passing
the
by each
break
other
room.
while we're raising a 3-year-old child.
That's how it
Um,
feels sometimes, especially when you're working from home as much as we are now.
yeah, I mean, we have like a nanny that comes here, so like we catch each other after the nanny leaves. So that's like our time to link up. It's like after the nanny's gone. But I was telling her like she knows what's going on. She's very like aware of like everything that's happening in my life, as she should be. She's like my partner in crime. But when it comes to like news, she's like, how do you keep material fresh? I was like, somebody does it for me. There's always somebody that's out rolling some website, defacing a website, stealing credentials, selling credentials, tearing down websites, to destroying servers. There's always somebody out there that makes my life a little bit easier when it comes to actually sharing the news. So thank you, criminals, I guess. I
don't know.
Yeah, not advocating that you do anything. I mean, some of you guys slow down, specifically someone like APT 33. You guys, take a break. Take a break.
It's okay to take a break sometimes.
Seriously. I know you had something you wanted to cover. You want to dive?
Well, yeah. I mean, so there was something I came across and then really it's I think I had listened to a talk about ransomware in human form, and there was like a better way that they called it. I think the acronym was HORA. So human operation ransom something. I'd have to look it up again, but the reason why I'm bringing that part up is because the thing that caught my eye about this article is the ransomware gang, which maybe you can give me some insight to this, because I think it's very interesting that you're starting to see this mix. And yeah, we'll just go with this mix of ransomware kind of, in my eyes, hitting like more the well, like cartels and gangs, and so almost type like the physical threat. And I mean, we started seeing this in cyber attacks in general, actually having physical effects in the world. When you look at like stuff like Stuxnet, and that the other one that we just had recently that was in healthcare, where actually had a loss of life. But I think it's interesting that you're now seeing the phrase ransomware gang or ransomware cartel. So there was something that recently happened, and actually maybe you could shed some light onto how that blend is actually now happening, or that relationship is now occurring. But regardless, either way, it was interesting that Clop, the ransomware gang, actually just had had extorted Bombardier, which is an aircraft, like a jet maker.
Yeah.
And they breached them through a 0-day in FTA exploit, which is a 20-year-old file transfer service. And so it's used by organizations to transfer sensitive files to people outside of the organization. And so this 0-day was actually started getting exploited by Clop back in December. And so what they started doing, they started collecting data on the employees, and it was employees, customers, and where they were getting supplies. So like they're more highly confidential pieces of data that they had. But one thing you start to hear more, and I think it's becoming more common, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I think we've mentioned it, or you've mentioned it before, is how some of these ransomware gangs actually have services. So the note that they left, which I thought was just fascinating, that they left this note for the Acelion FTA victims.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Words are very difficult for me, especially the English language, and it's the only language I speak this fluently. So the note that they left was, your network has been hacked and a lot of your valuable data has been stolen. And so then they leave a description of that data. And then they say we are the Clop team, so they tell you who they are. They tell you where they say look up articles about us, so we're known. And we definitely
In the
suggest that
streets.
yes, in the streets of the interwebs. And so then they say like, hey, we definitely suggest you get in contact with us, so then you can get, uh, you know, you can get your files back returned to us as long as you hand over your money. In a nutshell, and well, I'll shoot a link over so you guys can find this article, but this was on Bleeping Computers, and they definitely make it's far more wordy, but I thought it was interesting. And I mean, it's I don't think it's anything new, that these gangs or this ransomware gangs have been hitting, but I just think it's interesting that that phrase has been popping up far more. Um, so yeah, that was my article that I had. And there was yeah. So I'm gonna leave.
No, no. So what you see, so this is it's 2021, right? Yeah, so 2021.
Yes.
Uh,
It lines up, I think.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? I think what's happened, and this is from, I left government in like 2014, I think. Yeah, I left Department of Energy around like 2014. So around that time frame, I think when I came to private sector, ransomware was, this was 2014, 2015 area. Ransomware was still fairly like really, really new, right? You didn't have massive outbreaks of it. And if you did, it was very like singularly focused, meaning like they would target an organization of, find a vulnerability of breach that organization and deploy the ransomware. And then that was kind of it. You didn't see it like being spread around as much. In that time, since then, what you've seen is, and this isn't just ransomware, this is really malware of, especially if you think about malware as a service. In regards to the gangs comment you mentioned, what you've seen is really actors take on a more business-like approach to how they operate and how they finance some of these campaigns. So it really happens one of two ways. And I'm not the foremost expert on this. It'd be great to have someone from like maybe like actually there's a woman named Winona who used to work at Recorded Futures. She's over in Cali. We'll have to get her on. Winona she's used to be a threat researcher for Recorded Future, so she has a really like crazy amount of knowledge in regards to dark markets and malware markets and just like the underside of selling malware and how and what groups are up to what. I'll ping her after this, or hopefully she's watching. So anyway, what you see is this financial model come into play where actors have begun to think, okay, well, how can we gain as much as we possibly can, right? So really, if you think about that from a ransomware or malware perspective, you have to sell a product. So this product is responsible for generating X amount of revenue. And in selling that product vis-a-vis ransomware, what you see is, okay, we'll sell you this version of the of code, which is this version 2 of this ransomware, right? We'll sell someone else version 3. Version 2 and 3 may differ in regards to some of the delivery mechanisms based on what you want to pay us, right? So version 3 we know works because let's say there's some vulnerability with FTP servers or some vulnerability with a particular
and
Java
some of them
class.
even have subscription models too.
Yeah, and the subscription models are really kind of frightening because that requires zero skills for you to actually be able to pull these attacks off. I mean, it's literally you just need a Tor browser. You need to download Tor. You need a Tor browser. If you're smart, you're communicating with PGP encrypted comms. So you're only most of the malware forms you're on, the serious ones that are kind of invite only, or you have to like find someone that knows someone to get you in. Majority of those communications are over PGP. So you provide a PGP key, you provide your public key to that particular form. So all your comms are encrypted. They send you any communications that are sent to you. You need the let's say the malware the malware creator or one of the gang members, you need one of their keys to actually decrypt like instructions on how to deploy it, right? So a lot of this is really like you come to them like, hey, I want to pop PBS. I hate, I'm really tired of NPR. I hate that how I built this show. I'm just tired of hearing these positive stories on people making something out of their lives, right?
Pure
But
positivity.
yeah, and I say that because that's like one of my goals in life is to get on how I built this. So, well, I told myself I would do it before I'm 40. So it's like I'm like legit racing against the
You're
clock
getting
here.
close.
Yeah, I got like 3 more years and then that's it. So, but anyway, so like you would tell them like, hey, I want to target this organization. Hey, do you have any vulnerabilities for this type of organization? I've done my own bit of research. Maybe I understand that they have this particular tech stack. Is it, do you have anything in your arsenal for this? Or maybe sometimes it's just like, I just want to buy the ransomware. I can do the initial breach on my own, right? I don't really need you to find the victim. I don't need you to really dive into their tech stack. I can do all that crap on my own. I just need to buy it. How much is it straight up? How many Bitcoins is it? 4 or 5 Bitcoins? Okay, cool, great. And prices are going up, are sometimes going up on these because what they bake into it is this really customer service focused approach of, hey, well, we'll add this feature for you, or we will handle the C2 service for you, right? So like all these different features come into the play of how much you want to pay. What's kind of crazy is, again, you don't really need to be super technical to pull this off. All you need to do is get Tor, have a target in mind, and then you're kind of off to the races.
Yeah.
And also have some Bitcoin or Monero or Ethereum or Light or I think Dogcoin, whatever it is, whatever flavor cryptocurrency that you're leveraging, and that's really it. And you've seen this explode because most of these criminals are financially motivated. They're trying to make money. I think the last report I saw from 2020 around identifying what actors are responsible for what parts of hacking, whether that's hacktivism, looking into hacktivism versus nation state versus financially motivated, right? You're seeing, or what you've seen is a lot more organized crime creep into this, right? So, and the primary reason is like it's financially based and it's a lower risk threshold. If you're thinking, if I'm the head of a mob, and I got groups of soldiers with me that are willing to go rob, kill, and maim just to make money for the gang, there's a good chance you're going to lose your human elements to jail time, because they're probably going to get cut. But what does it take for you to take, 10, 20,000 of some of those ill-gotten gains and go find someone, a hacker for hire, take that 20 grand and say, hey, if I give you this 20 grand, what can you do with this, right? Can you build us out a ransomware service? Can you operate that for us? And this isn't like, O'Shea's fantasy, not my fantasy. Like I wouldn't want to do this, but I'm not saying like this is fanciful. This is really how it happens. Like you bankroll, someone has to bankroll these operations. Mobs have.
It becomes more of like a lucrative business model for them to invest into like a ransomware. Well, invest in ransomware or start working in that technology.
Yeah. Because it's super easy. And it's only going to get worse. I think, I know we've spoken about this before, but if you look at areas of like IoT and DevOps, specifically looking at deployment tools, I think that's like a gold mine or an attacker's dream. If you can get inside of a deployment tool like a Jenkins or a Docker, and you can change or swap out some of the dependencies that are listed there. So if you're unfamiliar with these tools, at its crux, it basically at their crux, essentially what you're seeing with Docker and Jenkins is like they're essentially responsible for rapidly deploying your applications, right? They rapidly deploy those applications based upon having a few factors in place, such as the code base, the dependencies that you need, and the servers that the specific servers. All this is kind of baked into your image, and then you can you can kind of point and click how often you want to deploy, when you want to scale up more services, when your application is receiving a massive amount of traffic or a spike, say around Super Bowl Sunday. A spike in traffic means we need to deploy more servers to handle that load. So load balancing goes from this to this or this to this. So those areas, those type of tools, Docker, Jenkins, whatever it may be, I think those are like where you're going to see a lot of focus for attackers. But I actually spoke about this last year. You have seen attempts and real world consequences of attackers gaining access to Docker instances, right? Like there was with Maze ransomware, one of the deployment options for Maze ransomware was essentially creating a VMI or a virtual machine image and baking the ransomware directly into that BMI. And then once someone grabs that BMI and spins that up with one of like these deployment tools, boom, it's automatically there. The ransomware is ready to go, and it can be, once it's executed, it's beaconing out, you know. And that's something that it's easy to miss that, because all it is, and not all it is it's pretty complicated to pull this off, but in its essence, it's just one image. That one image already has a ransomware inside of it. So let's say you as an organization are using a particular bucket where you're storing all the images that you need, or even from a research perspective, you at home, you're storing, you have a bucket where all your images are being stored. If you just happen to pick that wrong one that someone placed on your machine or placed on your account or inside that bucket, then that's pretty much game over, right? Like once you deploy, that's it. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of this crap with gangs and you know, just becoming a lot more fruitful in their efforts, really, because you know, it doesn't take much to spin this up. It doesn't take a massive amount of money. And you know, if it's me, you, and four other people, we can run round the clock services, right? You have people in different time zones. Again, thinking about it from a business side, people in different time zones taking a follow the sun model. You know, you can get a lot of crap done. You know, so not that I'm advising that to anyone. I feel like you have to say that nowadays. So, but yeah, it's definitely crazy.
No, yeah, I definitely agree, and that's kind of, I also feel the same way when I when I mentioned that it tends to be a little bit more lucrative, and yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen. There's definitely been a rise in ransomware gangs, and I agree with you for sure. We're going to see more of that. It's also just amazing to me how bold some of them can be.
Yeah, that
like the
part.
notes. Like I just yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, so I know we mentioned in the beginning that we had one guest not physically here. We already recorded this. Again, thank you, Davin, for coming on. I think we can jump into
Oh, did
that
we
bad
want to
boy.
play what the lady said from Share the Mic in Cyber, or are we doing that after?
Yeah, we can hit that afterwards.
All
Yeah,
right.
we'll do Davin's, and then because his is, and then we'll close out, and then we'll drop some links to we'll drop the links to the Google sheet,
Yep. Oh yeah.
for the signups.
Look at you. You're so smart. I didn't even think about that. Yep.
I got you. I got you. I got you. All right, 1 second. Let me get this ready.
Okie dokie.
One moment.
Do, 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 do.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Everything's a bit slow. There it is. Okay, cool. Let's wait. 1 second. Everyone, welcome back, and thanks for sticking around. As we mentioned earlier in the episode, we have another guest that we're definitely interested to dive into and hear a bit more about himself, Mr. Davin Jackson. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
And I know I see you graduated out there on social media. You know, you're all over Twitter and LinkedIn lately. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what do you got going on? What's your 2020 been like in security?
2020 has been an interesting year. Besides work and stuff, and then you have everything that's going on with COVID and everything going on outside. I just really focused on getting my blog and my YouTube channel and stuff, and getting myself out there a little bit more. So, like I said before, not to show my age, but I did the little Wayne approach of showing up on everybody's stuff and just trying to, introduce myself to everybody and make myself get out there a little bit more, overcome some of my fears and get some networking done. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, so you've been getting everywhere like Lil Wayne. In case for whatever reason nobody caught any of those spotlights, can you go ahead and tell us who you are, like what you doing?
So I'm sorry. So I'm Davin Jackson. I'm also known as DJax Alpha on Twitter and Instagram. I run alphacybersecurity.tech, which is my blog site where I just talk about everything from getting into cybersecurity, penetration testing. I also do like CTF walkthroughs and just some honest reviews and my personal takes on things. I also, like I said, I have a YouTube channel under the same name where I basically do a lot of the same stuff in just video form. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm a father, husband, mentor, Air Force veteran, and just, just a boring guy.
Explain the CTF part. That's kind of interesting.
Well, the CTF stuff?
Yeah.
So what I do is because I'm trying to help other people get into this field, and pen testing has pretty much been my profession for the last about 7 years now. I kind of help people just get used to understanding the basics or the concepts of penetration testing. So if you look at my blog or even the YouTube channel, I go from everything from how to install a virtual machine on Windows. I go through the basics of Kali Linux. And then we build up learning different tools, how to install them, how to use them, how to secure yourself on Kali Linux. And then we get into some pen testing. So, obviously you can't just go testing live subjects. So we'll go and download some stuff off of LoneHub. I haven't quite done any hack the box write-ups yet, but mainly LoneHub or over the wire or under the wire, and just kind of go through some of those exercises. And it's just a good way to showcase some of the tools that you can use and just really get used to it and get that hands-on experience.
Is that from the web app perspective, or is that from a networking systems pen test? I know everyone has, I guess, their flavor. Just kind of curious.
So with the LoneHub stuff, I guess that's more from a network side. So it's basically like testing a vulnerable machine on your network. I am going to go into some web app stuff, like the basics of web app pen testing as I progress through it. Like I said, I came up originally on network, and then I moved to web app, and now I'm doing web app and some API testing. So that's where I am now. So again, my goal is just try to teach or help anybody, learn these same skills that I learned, and get that hands-on experience, because that's definitely important in this field.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, for sure. Something I know we spoke about a little bit before we actually came on, but like you're touching on, like giving back and really teaching and helping people get introduced to the field, that's phenomenal, and it's an amazing thing that you're doing. One thing on your post, your blog, one of the posts was about your review on the OSCP, and it was completely honest. That's something that I truly appreciate as somebody who's in the penetration testing field. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that, or maybe even shed light on that little post?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for supporting. And secondly, yeah. So when I decided I was going to take the OSCP, I I don't even know how many certifications I have at this point. Not to show my age. I didn't go to college, and I basically always had a chip on my shoulder, right? Even when I was at some jobs, I always felt like they looked at me like I was the weakest link or that I was lesser than because I didn't go to college. I went to the military, and then I went to the military and didn't take up any technology in the military. So I figured I'm going to learn everything I can, and I'm going to make it hard for them. If the decision ever came, I was going to make it hard for them to let me go. So I would review what I felt I was weak on, and I would do it before my boss could tell me that I needed to do it. So when I got to the OSCP, by this time I had taken a lot of multiple choice tests. I took a couple practical exams, and for the most part it was smooth sailing. So when I took the OSCP, I had just started a new job, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start this new job, but I'm going to study for the OSCP, and I'm going to knock it out in 3 months. Man, was I wrong. I told myself, I'm going to work during the day. I'm going to blow through the book in like a week, and then I'm just going to laugh, and I'll test, and I'll be fine by, I think at that point, it was like October. And I went through it. I did the book in a couple weeks, and then I started going through the labs. But then, I started hitting roadblocks and falling into different rabbit holes. And anybody who's been in the OSCP labs know that, some of those machines are just the devil.
Yeah.
So, I found myself, I get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, try to go to the gym, make sure that I see the kids off to school, spend some time with the wife, start my day. I'm done by 3, 4 o'clock, do whatever I got to do, eat dinner. I had a whole plan. Yeah, none of that, all that got thrown out the window. I found myself up to like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, still trying to make sure I got up for 5, 6 o'clock. After that point, I was like, I'm not exercising, I'm not going to the gym. I got to get back. And I just kept going. And then, I knew I wasn't quite ready, but I told myself I needed to stick to this unrealistic goal that I had set for myself. And the day of the exam, like I said, I missed it by about 15 points the first time around. And
score range, what's passing, I guess?
75, 80, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, so they give you again, without breaking any NDAs or anything like that, they give you 5 machines. You have to see if you can gain root into all, as many of them as you can to get a passing score. The different machines have different scores. So there are a couple that are 25, maybe a couple that are 10, 15, 20. So like I said, I got about 55 points the first time around. And again, even then, I still knew I needed to take a break, but I was like, no, I have to get the certification. So I went and I tried to retest the second time. And the second time I did it, like my body just kind of like shut down on me. Like I was taking the test, and like next thing you know, I was literally just sitting there like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing here right now. Like I just completely went blank. So I stepped away from the computer, and then I said I was going to take a break. And then after that, I got I fell ill, so I felt compelled to write about that experience because I know so many people, especially in the pen testing field. The OSCP was treated like a rite of passage. It was like, if you don't have it, you're not real. If you don't have it, you suck, you're a noob, you're a script kiddie, and between that and the imposter syndrome, I dealt with a lot, and I wanted to share that and let people know, like, listen, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and whatever else you think it makes you happy in this field. There is some stuff out there, but you know what? Don't let those 4 letters define you. That was basically my overall goal. That, and just to shed some light on, I guess, the culture behind that whole process, that whole try harder mantra, and how some of the people who were supposed to help you or guide you through that process weren't very helpful. I want to just kind of call it all out there. And luckily, it came back with such positive reviews from about 90% of the people. So.
Yeah, well, another thing I really liked about that post, and is you basically provide, and you also shed light on that there's other ways about going about getting that practice in. You mentioned, doing CTF walkthroughs with Phone Hub and over the wire, and you shed light on that, and I think that's amazing. It's a really great resource.
Yeah, and well, because I mean, let's be honest, isn't it? I mean, it's not like a SAN certification, but no one has $1,000 to just throw at a certification all the time. When I took it at that point, I think I paid $1,200 for that, 60 days of labs. 60 days goes by really fast when you're in that course and doing those labs. So then you end up buying another 60 days and another 30 days because you never feel like you're fully prepared because they tell you, well, you have to get the top 4, you have to get those, you have to have at least out of 50 machines, you're not ready unless you get 30 or 40 of them. And then after a while, like I said, during that downtime, I'm sitting there, I'm going, there's so many different resources out here, So if you take if you take the course, I totally recommend taking the course. But if you run out of lab time, go grab some of those free machines and have at it.
Yeah, I've always done defensive work. So like when I hear people talk about OSCP, I'm like, I can't relate. Like I'm like, all I know is I'm gonna wait for you to slip up and I'm gonna catch you and kick you out. Like so, like that's all I care about. I was like, do you, go nuts. I mean, it sounds like an ordeal, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's and I think with that exam, it's psychological more than it is practical because again, they're like, you have 24 hours, ready, go. And now they have someone who's watching you while you take it. Yeah, so it's an online proctored exam now. So they have someone watching you. I hope I don't piss nobody off, but screw it. They literally want you to tell them when you're taking a break, when you come back, when you get started. It's just like, so now you have that going on. And then if you run into any issues, like they're not very helpful either. It's like when I went to take it the second time, I was having VPN issues and they're just like,
You're bad.
Like, clock's ticking.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I mean, I met a lot of people after that, after I wrote that article and that, and talked about it. I spoke to some people from offensive security. They definitely are aware of the reputation they have, and to their credit, I will say they are working diligently to kind of make changes to that. But again, it's just, it's a lot, again, and I think that just goes with the culture of the field that we're in, where you always feel like you have to prove yourself, especially if you're a person of color or a female. You always feel like you have to like fight for your existence in this space. And again, for pen testers, that's the first rite of passage. You can get the CEH, which everybody laughs at, but jobs still require it.
Exactly.
HR is looking for it.
Yeah, HR is looking for the CEH.
Get your foot in the door.
Yeah, to get your foot, exactly. And that's what I tell people, like, the CEH gets your foot in the door, but you need to have that hands-on that's going to get you paid. So.
Yeah, I don't do offensive work, but I'm not like, and this isn't like a pretentious thing, but I remember taking CEH and I was like, I think I was about to turn 19. Like I had just finished like high school. And like, because they had a community college, like I grew up in Dallas, they had a community college there, and I met some guys that they were a couple years ahead of me, and they kind of knew what I was into, like in high school. I've been into it for a while. They're like, oh, there's a class you can take at Collin County College, and like it's like $400, and you can take a CEH. And so I went to that summer, so it was like summer graduation. Like that's pretty much what I did, like 3 months, and then at the end of the 3 months, you take it, and so I was like 19, and I was like, this shouldn't be a 3-month class. Like, I just remember being like, I don't think I need 3 months to go through this. I mean, it was good experience because I was like, you're going off to college, so you have to start thinking like, okay, this is likely what you're gonna run into in college. Like, you're gonna be class, maybe you don't want to be there or whatnot. So, but yeah, I do it. When I advise people that are like a little bit younger, I'm like, take it, but you need to do something hands on. I was like, I've done a lot of hiring. I can't tell you how many times I've had someone come in that had whatever cert. I mean, not to crap on EC Council, whatever cert it may be. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here's some chalk, or here's a marker. Walk me through this type of attack, right? And then it's like nothing. Huh. All right. I mean, I know not to do it anymore. I literally got in trouble at work for doing that. Like, have people walk through problems in front of you. It's like someone complained, like one of the interviewers like complained. They're like, I felt pressure. No one told me that I would have to like.
Oh, come on.
Nah, I'm being like dead serious. Like, I had to sit down with like my boss, and he was like, "Yeah, you can't do that anymore."
I had an interview for a job. They sat me in front of 3 people for 45 minutes and like grilled me. Then they said, "Okay, now you can move on to the next phase." They put me in a room and put me in front of a keyboard, and they're like, "Get root." And as I'm going through root, and it was metasploitable too. So I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah." So I'm doing it, whatever. And as I'm doing it, now they're still firing questions at. So I'm listening. They're like, "Well, what nmap flag would you use if you wanted to get all ports?" I'm like, -E-. Like, I'm busy, Oh man, yeah. So
start typing the answers while you're trying to answer them.
Yeah. It was just like, yeah. I remember. So when I said I was going to get the CEH, I told myself again, putting that chip on my shoulder. I said, well, I don't want to learn how to hack it unless I know how to manage it. Right. So I worked like an extra 2 years to work my way up to like sysadmin at the school system I was working at, just so I can say, okay, now that I know how to, I can install Active Directory, I can do this, I can do that. Now I can go attack it. And I remember I took a boot camp. And I remember when I took the CEH and it was like, congratulations, you passed. I was like, I literally wasted 2 years of my life. It's like, it was, to me at that time, it was the security plus with some more tools. Right. Like that, and I took the security, and I have the security plus, so it was like, okay. So it was familiar to me, and then I just had to learn the different tools and what nmap does and how what it looks like. Luckily, like I said, the boot camp I took also had a practical exam to it. So I did the CEH, and then there was another one called the CPT, the Certified Penetration Tester, and they gave you it was a practical exam. So you had to take a written you had to pass a written test, and then after you pass that, then they give you the image to try to gain access. You have to write the report. But that's how I got my hands on. And then I landed a job maybe like 2-3 months after, no, a little bit longer after that. And I was like, I'm in there. I know what I'm doing. And then like the first 3 months on the job, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
So that's how you got into cyber? Was like you did the boot camp and then you.
That's how I got into pen testing. So I was introduced. So I started on the defensive side, I guess you could call it, because when I was working at school system, I was in charge of basically all the technology devices for the special education department.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they were getting their iPads stolen. I know who would think whatever. That's a whole whatever. So, there was no, we couldn't track them or anything. So at that time, Cisco Meraki had just come out with the MDM. So I put them all on. I put everything on Meraki, and we started doing that. Then we had a couple ransomware incidents. So I started trying to become more proactive instead of reactive, and which led me into, well, why are we always getting hit? Why are we so vulnerable? Started looking at vulnerability assessments, and then I was introduced to penetration testing, and it was like, oh, this is fun. I'm gonna stay here. This is what I want to do. So yeah. So like I said, so when I did that, once I really wanted to get into that, at the time where I was working, they were okay with me working all types of overtime and doing this. But once I said, okay, this is what I want to do, and honestly, I think we should create a position for me to do this. That's when all of a sudden, there was no money in the budget and all this other stuff. So I basically took my own money, paid for the boot camp, took 5 days, drove down to Virginia, That's where I met Keyshawn Evans. And he played a major role because walking in there and seeing another black man teach the class, it was like, oh, bet, okay, there's a space for me here. And that's, I just basically sat there for a week. And if, as long as he was willing to talk, I was there willing to listen. I was a sponge. So, like I said, I walked out of there with the CEH, like, I don't even know why I have this, but I walked out with a lot because, like I said, I got to sit here and ask this man questions sometimes till 1 in the morning because we were in labs and I was awesome stuff. So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome you took that initiative to do it yourself. I took the CCNA when I was fairly young, but I had to go to Virginia. It was like it wasn't Herndon, it was Chantilly. So I think I paid like $800. Like I flew myself down there. It was like maybe a year and a half, 2 years out of school, something like that. Because like I was in Dallas or running in cyber jobs. I kind of knew some stuff, but like I couldn't like prove it on a job, like on a resume. I was like, hey, I got in the hack when I was like 15. Yeah. That doesn't apply on like resumes. I know that I tried that. Like I legit put that on there. I was like been into security since like 1990. And they're like, yeah, that's not like nobody cares about that.
Yeah, cool story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good job. Cool story, bro. So I paid to go take a CCNA class just to like get into like somewhere. Like I need to get in somewhere. I try to advise people that I'm like, don't wait for like a security job. Just get in. Yeah. Just get in somewhere. Like just start getting the knowledge and skills.
And that's the major thing. That's the major key that a lot of folks who came up like I did or like we didn't know that, I was always good with tech, but like my grandmother let me tinker around with stuff all the time when I was younger. And her rule was as long as I could put it back together and it worked the same way when I took it apart, we had no problems. And I didn't want no problems with my grandmother. So it was like, all right, cool. Sometimes I fixed some stuff, sometimes it stayed the same, but I never broke anything. At least that she knew of. And then, but when I got to high school, there weren't really a lot of things for tech out there for us, inner city kids. And then on top of it, there was that misconception that, maybe we weren't smart enough. It was you're either white, Asian, or Indian, or whatever it was. So it was always like, you guys don't want to, you don't want to do this. Here, go do something over here. You try playing sports, So I went that typical route. And then, like I said, when I wanted to do audio visual, or I wanted to try to stay in something with any type of electronics I can get my hands on. And then when it was decided that I was going into the military, I told the recruiter, and they were like, don't you want to be an aircraft mechanic? Like, no. They're like, oh, but you scored so high on the ASVAB test, which I only took because I was being literally chased by the principal, and I didn't want to get caught for skipping class because then I'd have got suspended and I'd explain that to my mother. So as I ran by the library, the Marine recruiter was like, hey, you want to take this test? We'll give you credit for the day. And I'm like, oh, bet.
It's crazy.
So when the recruiter was like, you could be an aircraft mechanic. I'm like, I don't want to be an aircraft mechanic. Like, oh, we'll give you $5,000. I was like, I'm gonna go be an aircraft mechanic. So, I took the 5,000, which was more like 21, 22 after taxes. And then, I was, like I said, I did that in the military for a little while, came home, really couldn't find anything. Shocker, there aren't any fighter jets or top secret jets in the civilian world. Yeah, go figure. They don't have commercial F-117 stealths. What? So it took a while to find my footing. And then like shortly after my daughter was born, my girlfriend, who was my wife now, basically just pulled me to the side. I was like, listen, the F you want to do? What are you going to do? You have to do something. I tried electrical for a little while, fell off of a couple ladders, didn't like it. And then, but one of the last things that happened was when you do electrical, you have to become an apprentice for a little while before you can take the test for your license. But in order to become an apprentice, the company has to register you. and the foreman or whoever the guy was basically looked at me and was like, why would I register you when I can keep you at, $10 an hour? He's like, you do great work, but if I register you, then I have to give you raises incrementally every so often until you can get your license. I can just keep you here. And at that point, I was like, I'm never going to let someone control my career progression based off of what they think, So when when my wife came to me and was like, you got, figure something out. I was like, well, I always wanted to do tech. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the certifications. I'm looking at, all right, cool. I know now I have a list of what I need to do. What do I need to obtain for the job I want? So I'm gonna learn it that way, and that's just kind of where it took off.
Okay, yeah, that's that sounds like a serious conversation in the relationship. It's like, hey, come on, buddy.
Yeah, no, it was like I said, it was like I credit her all the time because it was literally. I mean, I'm giving you the clean version, but yeah, it was.
I can imagine, especially if she's pregnant. It's like it's not.
This was like shortly after my daughter was born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my daughter was here, and it was just like, I was working and stuff, but I just didn't have something solid, and then it was just like, nah. I was pretty much. It was like, nah. You need to figure it out. What is it that you want to do? Because you can't keep doing this. I don't want you falling off any more ladders. If you want to say an electrical, cool, just take out a life insurance policy.
Do what you need to do, but I need you to figure it out.
Yeah, it was like I need you to take this seriously. Like, we have a child, like, cut the shit. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
So, aside from your wife giving you that real talk of saying, "Hey, sir, you need to figure this out," in the nicest way possible. And you going ahead and looking into IT because you had that previous interest, and then having that motivation of seeing the certs and then going and kicking ass and doing it. What would you say were like your influences? Like who would you say like were your role models, like either technical or in life, that help you propel or motivate yourself to hit that goal? Maybe that's a really wordy version of what I'm trying to ask.
No.
I think you get what I'm trying to say.
Right. So, like I said, I always look at Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, right? And rest in peace, Kobe. But the one thing I loved about Michael Jordan, and they showed it recently on the documentary, he internalized everything. He took every slight and he used it to motivate him from, getting cut on the JV team to, when they said Dan Marley was a great player or could hold him or whatever. Everything he took, he was like, he used that and was like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to show you. And then same thing with Kobe Bryant with his work ethic. Like, I'm a Bulls fan. Like, you can probably see the Bulls jersey over here. I'm a Bulls fan. I'm still a Bulls fan, unfortunately. And I hated Kobe, right? And it wasn't until, after him and Shaq split, and it was like, you start to see it, and you're like, man, his work ethic is crazy. And then you start to hear the stories. Start to hear, how he stays in the gym, or when other players, when he's like, okay, we're gonna go practice all day, and how he would just work at something and research and work on it. And I was like, okay, that's what I give the respect. So I took that same approach, where again, black kids from the hood, didn't go to college. People did say things, whether it was subtle or they just didn't know any better or they were just ignorant, whatever. I took all of that and was just like, all right, I'm going to show you. And that's what I did. I just kept going, and I used that as my motivation. And then I had a younger brother. He passed away a few years back. But the one thing I respected and envied about him the most was that if he decided he wanted to do something, it was like he would disappear for like a week or two, and then he'd come back and he'd be like an expert at it. Like he would look at you and go, I want to learn web development, or whatever. And then he would come back, and then this is back in the days of like Black Planet and MySpace and stuff. And then he's charging people for custom pages. And I'm like, when did you learn this? He's like, I told you I was gonna figure it out. Like, that was like 2 weeks ago. He's like, yeah. And now he's, he just had this attitude of, this is me, this is who I am, love it or leave it. If you don't like it, I don't really give to whatever. And I'm just gonna go out and I'm just gonna go get it. And I always loved and respected that about him. And I remember it was just like, man, if I could take one thing, I would want to do that, right? And when he passed, it was like, all right, well, I gotta live for both of us now. So I try to take that mentality, and I don't let most things get to me. Some stuff does, but I just kind of when I'm focused on something, it's like, all right, cool. I know why I'm doing it. I got, like I said, I got my wife and I got my 2 kids. They're my motivation. So you're either gonna get with it or you're gonna get the hell out the way, because one way or another, I'm going to get to that point. And that's just the approach that I take. Like I said, I don't expect everybody to say yes. I don't expect everything to be a win. But like I said before, I'm gonna make it real difficult for you to say no. And in order to do that, you have to have that uncomfortable conversation with yourself and like, okay, what do you suck at? Right? Like what is it that you, where do you suck? Where are you bad? Because if you know what's wrong with you, the next person can't tell you. And if you do something about it beforehand, you're constantly in a state of improvement. That's why I tell everybody, like, even with all my experience and certifications, I still consider myself to be a newbie. I'm still a noob, because the moment you decide I'm an expert or I'm whatever, you become complacent. So especially in this field.
Yeah. No, that's, well, one, sorry if you lost, but that sounds like an awesome thing to take away. It's like that drive. I think you have to have that, especially when you, like, it's somewhat similar. Like, I left school to join a startup because I was like, all right, I can get rich at super early age, like 21, 22, right? And that gets bought out or whatever. So then it's like you're 22, 23, and it's like, all right, well, you gotta go find a gig, but you don't have a degree, and you know some technical stuff, so what are you gonna do, right? And you run into people that do kind of whatever, whether it's subtle like you said or not, like you hear things, you're just like, all right, well, people are gonna hate, so like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cry, or you're just gonna like go home and study and just grind it out. Like, I still kind of take that mindset too, so I think we share that. So it's like, you have to ask yourself where you suck, but then at times it's like, well, I suck here. How long is it gonna take me not to suck, right? And that's like the switch. Like, how long will it take me not to suck at this?
Right. So that's that's how I approach it. Even with my kids, like my kids will come to me like, complaining about whatever it is that they're issue. I'm like, okay, and I let them vent. I let them go for however long they go. And I'm like, okay, you done? So now what are you prepared to do about it? Right? We know the problem, right? The problem is always going to be the problem if you don't do something about it. So that's how I always approach it. Like, okay, I want to achieve this goal, and it's frustrating that I can't. All right, I get it, but okay, so now how are we going to do it? Okay, you came up with a plan. Now it's time to execute, and that's just that's just the mentality you gotta keep up with. Like I said, everything isn't going to go your way. But you can either decide that, all right, I'm gonna do something about it, or you can accept the loss and move on. But you can't dwell, and sit on it, because otherwise it's just gonna consume you, and then you're gonna become bitter. You're gonna start being resentful. Nobody needs that right now.
Especially now.
Yeah, especially now.
And you mentioned, going back and giving, to the community and helping other individuals, like with the CTF walkthrough. Is there, do you have to give like any like guidance or really like, any advice to individuals that are looking to come into security? Like what do you think that would be?
Technical wise, I would just say, make sure you understand not only do you understand how it works, understand why it works, right? Once you can understand that concept of, okay, so I got in, this exploit worked. Well, why did that exploit work? Well, the exploit worked because, you know, this was an outdated version and it was vulnerable to this attack, and then this is what the attack does. The more technical you can make yourself to understand, the better off you'll be. Two, that's non-technical, I would just say make sure you're comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You're always going to be put in these predicaments, even when you're coming up in the field. Like I didn't know that there was a whole community of folks like us on the internet until, I don't know, like 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. So like seriously, like I had Twitter, but I never understood. I never really cared for it. And you know, you see little blog stuff here and there, and you know, and again with that chip on my shoulder, it was just kind of like, you know, whatever. I'm a lone wolf. I'll do it myself. So there was really no support system. I mean, I have my family and, you know, some of my friends, but no one can understand the things that we go through better than the people who are also going through it. So sometimes you find yourself really lonely, you know, because you're trying to better yourself. You're trying to learn a new skill. You're trying to learn something that's going to put you in a better position. And just like anything, it takes time. Like I said, I did it during a time where my friends were still out partying, having a good time, and, you know, living their best life. And I'm like, all right, cool, that's great. I'm gonna lock myself down and I'm gonna work on getting these certifications and getting this experience. And it was like, you know, you had that peer pressure. Oh, you don't go out no more. Oh, your girl got you whipped. Oh, you know, all that other nonsense. And then, like I said, you know, it paid off because now I'm at where I'm at. And then they're like, oh man, we should have listened to you like 10 years ago. But you have to be comfortable with yourself. That's why I always put on, if you see on Twitter, I put in my hashtags, always bet on yourself, because you have to be your best cheerleader. You have to be the one. Sometimes it's literally going, good for you, and then you're on the other end talking about, yay, good for me. You know, you know, sometimes you have to cheer yourself on. So make yourself, you know, comfortable in those uncomfortable situations where, you know, you don't. There are days where the money isn't worth it. There are days where it's like, I don't care how much I'm getting paid. I'm done with this field. Screw it. And in those situations, you have to kind of remember why you wanted to get in this field in the beginning, right? You know, yeah, if I tell people who I mentor, like, why do you want to get in cybersecurity? And they're like, oh, I heard you can get paid. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're going to have to come up with a better idea, because for one, the money's not always going to be there, you know, on day one. The money you're talking about is not going to be there when you first walk through the door. And
so you're writing 0 days or something.
yeah, unless you're writing 0 days, and yeah, or you're selling stuff on the dark web or whatever, but that's another story. But there's good, like I said, there's going to be those days when the burnout is real, the imposter syndrome is real, and the paycheck isn't going to make that go away any sooner, right? Like I get paid well. There's some days where I'm like, maybe I should like really focus on exercising and maybe I'll be a male stripper or something. You know, you know, there's like some days it's just like, I don't want to be here, right? But you have to, you know, you have to be able to tough through those times and you know, come out better for it.
It's funny hearing a lot of the stuff that you've touched on. I feel like, Gavin, you've basically told me the same things that I've dealt with various tweaks on it, with, you know, coming in, you know, being interested in tech, but then kind of being deterred from it. And even all the way up to, you know, giving back and doing these CTFs, because something that I know when I've done a couple talks on introducing people to CTFs, doing walkthroughs are great, but you really need to understand, why did the exploit work and what did you just do, And having that complete understanding is helpful. Great, you got a shelf. Why did you get a shelf? How did you get a shelf? Is extremely important. And with everything you've put out so far, you have you're on Twitter and you're active on Twitter, because you can be on Twitter and just lurk like myself. And you have a YouTube channel, and you've been doing all these engagements and coming on podcasts. If you were to publish something else, like a white paper explaining your journey into cybersecurity, what would you name it?
It would probably be always bet on yourself. Seriously. Because again, this is something. And again, it wasn't until a couple of years ago where I figured out, there were other people who took this unorthodox approach, right? Again, you usually hear people, I went to college and I got, before you can go to school for cybersecurity, it was like, I got my computer science degree. And then I went and I worked for this 3-letter agency, and now here I am. Like I said, I didn't go that route. Like I said, I kind of went all over the place, and according to some people, I started late. I was a late bloomer. I didn't get into tech until like my early 20s, my mid 20s, and then I didn't get into cybersecurity until maybe about 5 or 6 years after that. So it was like, should I be here? Should I belong here? Do I belong here? Is it a young man's game or a young woman's game or whatever? And, you have these questions. And like I said, I still deal with imposter syndrome, talking to you guys or going to some of these other panels and seeing how, successful or some of the experiences that they've gone through. But you have to be able to be confident, like, no, I deserve to be here. Damn it. I put in my work. I put in my time. So it would always, it always will fall on, always betting on yourself, because like I said, sometimes that's all that matters. And like I said, the rest is history. If you want to do it and you feel like you have the skill set to do it, go for it. You will only find out if you're going to fail if you fail. Like you can't fail out of it before you even try. So, you have to definitely, work at it and believe in yourself and, put in those long hours sometimes. Don't burn yourself out constantly, but, put in the grind, put in the hours to learn what you got to do, learn the tools, learn the skills. There's something there for everybody in this field if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always say it's not magic. I'm like, you can definitely learn it. Like it's not. It's just little bits and bytes that someone is sitting and transferring from a piece of equipment. That's all it is. Because I promise you can understand it if you sit down and read through it.
Yep.
Something I definitely learned getting into the field is you can learn the skills, but you can't learn the passion and be just the drive for it and just the constant learning. Because like you said, once you consider yourself an expert, you become complacent. I've said before is that I will forever think I'm a noob. Mm-hmm. There's always something to learn, and it's something that's important because even when if you're interested in the field, you haven't even made the jump, and you hear, oh well, I got a computer science degree and I got this. I started as I was a bartender and I was a server for X amount of years. And then I finally was like, you know what? I've been interested in tech. I'm doing it. Like, I'm done. Right. And it's a great community, and I think it's not as scary as people might think it is, or as intimidating. But you're definitely inspiring in a lot of things. Everything that you've been saying, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. Or I was lacking on this. I need to work on this. I really like your story, and I really appreciate what you're putting out there. And I know I'm going to be following you from now on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. And like I said, any way I can help, let me know. That's important to me. Like I said, we didn't know how to get our foot in the door. So now that I got my foot in, I'm trying to hold it open and try to bring as many people as I can in with me. You know, but like you said, you have to have that passion. You have to have that why. Like that's what I tell people. You know, find out what you have to figure out what your why is. Because like I said, when those times get tough, you have to sit back and go, why am I here? Oh yeah, that's right. I want to do it because you know I enjoy the challenge of it. Like that's me. I enjoy the challenge of pen testing. I can get root on something today that might not work tomorrow. It's always a puzzle. It's always a challenge. I look at it like someone's telling me you can't do this. I'm like, okay, watch this. Yeah, okay, I can't. Cool, you know. And you know, like I said, and it's gotten me in trouble sometimes, and sometimes it's gotten me further. You know, I don't know how much time we got, but yeah, one time I was on a pen test, and I can't for NDA purposes, but the CTO of the company was like, "Yeah, look at all this security stuff we got, and we probably don't even need this because you know, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was probably the most secure building I've ever seen." And they have no reason to be that secure. It's not even like there wasn't military or anything. Well, he was like, yeah, you know, he's like, we just have the money. I'm like, all right, cool. And like throughout, and I'm there for the week. And he's like, I bet you couldn't get in. I bet you couldn't get in. I bet you couldn't get in. I'm like, the whole week, I'm like, okay. So about by Wednesday, like I really got annoyed. So I stayed up late and finished my pen test early. And then Thursday, he's like, I bet you couldn't do it. I bet you couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, hypothetically speaking, if I were to do this, I would need you to sign this that says I have permission to do it. And he was like, psst. So he signs off on it. He's like, so you're going to do it? I was like, I didn't say I was going to do it. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, this is what I would do. So I told him I was leaving. I left, came back, and I went in the dumpster, found a box. I walked in and I put on like this performance, like the box was the heaviest box ever. And I'm like stumbling, I'm like working up a sweat with this empty box. And this lady comes in and she's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I'm like, I gotta get this box to the 3rd floor. And she goes, okay. So she swipes her key to call down the elevator. Then she swipes her key again to get me to the 3rd floor because you have to have key card access to get to the floor. She swipes it, like, okay. The day before, I had realized everybody who smoked cigarettes, when they ran out for their smoke break, rather than go to the designated smoke area on the bottom floor on the main lobby, they would rather hightail it out to the parking lot that was like right there, right outside of the office. So I waited till about 1:15 when their smoke break was. They all ran out. I walked in. I walked in, plugged up my laptop, so seeing, you know, looked at what I could see. And then I just sat in his office until he came back. And he comes in and he's like, I thought you were gone. I was like, yeah. He's like, how'd you get in? Didn't you turn in your key card? And I'm like, you said I couldn't do it. And it was, you know, and the lesson there was like, you know, you can have all the stuff in the world, but you know, as human beings, we're taught to be what? Helpful, be polite, you know, don't stare, don't be nosy. So unfortunately, I used those things that we were taught on how to be a good person against them, right? And in security, the human being will always be the weakest link. So, you know, so yeah, you see somebody with a heavy box, you're gonna want to hold the door open for them. You're not gonna want them to put it down. You're gonna help them. You're not even gonna ask, hey, are you supposed to be, you know, they didn't ask me if I was supposed to be there or anything. And like I said, it was cool. I went back and my boss was pissed off because I did a physical engagement that they could have charged for, but it was just more like I needed to shut them up.
What you gotta do, man? I do remember that the turntables, like, I'm on defense side, so I'm always paranoid because you have surprise pen tests, so especially if you're running SOCs, leading SOCs, revenge or whatever. So I let the turntable shut on people, like wherever I'm working. And I remember at one point I had my team with me. I let it shut on this woman behind us, and it was like, hey, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I was like, "You mean tell me there's no women pen testers?" I was like, "That's dummy thinking." I was like, "There's definitely female pen testers." Like, you don't know her. Like, you ever seen her before? I haven't seen her. Like, why would I let her in? But they were just like, you're crazy.
Stranger danger.
Exactly.
I love that.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us. But if people need to reach out to you, like where can they find you?
So DJax_alpha on Twitter, DJax_alpha on Instagram, alphacybersecurity.tech is the blog site, and you can just search for Alpha Cybersecurity. Oh no, I'm sorry, I actually got enough followers and subscribers now where I had my own name now. So you can do youtube.com/Alpha Cybersecurity. Please like and subscribe. And if you guys can reach out to me in the messages or anything, if I can help, I'm always there to help.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for coming and kicking with us and sharing your story, man.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, I've forgotten how much I really enjoyed that interview that we had with him.
Yeah, it was super fun. Thank you again, Devin, for coming on. And it was definitely brought to our attention that there was some lagging issues from a video perspective. So we will sort that out. We'll figure that part out. But thanks to people for a couple of people hit me up on Twitter about it, saying it was kind of laggy too. So thanks for letting us know, and we'll definitely sort that out. We always aim to get better and bring you the best experience possible. So again, thank you, Davin. I think he dropped his Twitter handle. Definitely ping him if you have any questions. I think, in general, I think he's cool to having questions around security, specifically tech side of things, but also just in general, if you are new to the field or looking for a bit of guidance moving into the offensive sphere, definitely feel free to hit up Davin and hit up us. But definitely hit up Davin.
He's got a lot of really great content out there too.
Yeah, for sure. Tonight we'll be posting the video for this episode to the YouTube channel. We'll also post of a clip or a small clip of us sitting down with Camille and Lauren around the Share the Mic and Cyber campaign. So look for that. We'll drop that tonight. Naturally, again, I'm O'Shea Bowens or Sir Mudblood.
And I'm Sienna Del Vasto, aka C-Squared.
It's like she forgot her name.
I was like, who is I? Existential questions.
And if you need to reach us on Twitter, I'm at Sir Mudblood. You can also ping the show at IDS Podcast. We are constantly checking the mail. If it takes us a while to get back to you, we apologize, but there's just a lot going on. But we will definitely get back to you.
Yep, that's for sure. And definitely you can catch me as C-Squared on Twitter, or you can catch me on LinkedIn. And yeah, if you know where to hit us, you know where to find us. And I look forward to seeing y'all again and doing this one more time, if not a bunch more times.
Right. Yeah. Same bad time, same bad place. So we'll see you again. This is us closing out episode 8 of season 4. So we'll see you again next Wednesday, I believe. Next Wednesday. Sorry.
Sounds about right.
It's been a long day. Yeah, so we'll see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Also be on the lookout for the upcoming collaboration and dropping of those episodes. The first part of the series, I should go ahead and say this now. The first part of the series is actually going to be the focus on Black women in cybersecurity. So those will be out in about a week or two. And there'll be 2 episodes of those. And again, the last 2 episodes of the 4-part series will be us focusing on people of color, specifically African Americans in cybersecurity for Black History Month. So if you would like to be a guest on that panel, there are still maybe 7 to 10 out of the 40 slots. I think there's like maybe 7 to 10 or 7 to 12 open slots.
I think we have to update the form for the 4th date. But yeah, a majority of it is open except for I think we have like 2 spots open for the 6th, March 6th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's a good idea to actually have the numbers of how many people or how many slots we have, so people understand. Because the last thing we want to do is have someone apply and then they're like, oh wait, I wasn't accepted. So actually, yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll add the number of seats that are available, so everyone's kind of aware
Yeah.
to the Google form page.
We
So
do actually have 8 spots open for this Friday to record.
Yes.
Nope.
thank
Yeah,
you.
this Friday, which we will be recording from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. But that episode won't be airing until next Thursday. So if you are interested in joining us, definitely check out the form. It's posted on our LinkedIn. I believe we have it posted on Twitter, or hit us up and we'll send you the link.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah.
And thanks for joining us. This is IDS signing off.
Bye.